even when it applies to those in custody.
Mr. Speaker.
Paul Alfred Narrow.
Mr. Speaker, I stand and rise to speak on the Prisoners and Victims Claims 2012 Expiry and Application Dates Amendment Bill. Mr. Speaker, this bill bridges the gap between the expiry of the current regime on the 30th of June 2012 and progressing the Prisoners and Victims Claims Redirecting Prisoner Compensation Bill 2011 through the House. Mr. Speaker, the gap that we want to continue to bridge, I won't labour the point, that's been actually, sorry for the pun, opposite me, but the issue here is around bridging the gap. But the gap that we want to continue to bridge, Mr. Speaker, is the gap of confidence in the judicial system to acknowledge and expand the rights and the support for victims. This was no more evident than when we heard the submissions on the Victims of Crime Reform Bill, where stories of the good, the bad and the ugly of the judicial system to respond to the needs of victims were heard. Mr. Speaker, this government is very clear. We are directing prisoner compensation to victims and to put victims at the heart of our justice system. National is reforming our criminal justice system to put a stronger emphasis on the victims, and as our colleague has said, we want to ensure that it's a fair and just debate and ensure that, again, victims are compensated in the appropriate way. We're ensuring that victims are heard, that they get the support they need and that they are not brutalised again when defendants are tried. We are making sure that victims get better information and protection when offenders are released back into the community. At the same time, we're modernising our court process to make the justice system safer and more efficient. We're speeding up those court processes, Mr. Speaker, reforming legal aid and improving civil justice. Our changes are making justice more responsive to the needs of victims and helping to build a safer and brighter New Zealand for children, families and older people. Mr. Speaker, I just want to finally finish my speak on talking about the supporting for victims and especially the Victims of Crime Reform Bill. I'm proud to be a part of the Justice and Electoral Committee, and one of the things that this bill will do, and again is support as a whole route to support for victims, we're also setting up a Victims Centre to improve the information and services victims receive and improving the victim notification system. We're changing the way that evidence is heard to better protect vulnerable children, more help for families affected by homicide. And Mr. Speaker, it truly was a sobering moment where we again heard the stories of the families, the victims, and with that, Mr. Speaker, it's beholding upon us and our leadership to ensure that we do have a fair and just system of debate, but ensure that this process goes through. Mr. Speaker, finally, again, the support will help for sexual violence victims and also for help for victims of serious crime. Mr. Speaker, I stand and rise in support of this bill.
Chris Farfoy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me the chance to speak to the Prisoners and Victims Claims 2012 Expiry and Application Dates Amendment Bill.